The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and Your Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Monday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you as always on this beautiful Monday afternoon as we start another week into the month of February as we fastly approach tournament time for both boys and girls basketball and the inevitable end of the winter sports season. And you know what? It's getting close to the time that we start talking about spring sports as well. This has been a staple on Running Point that when, the one sport starts to get into the tournament, then we start to preview the spring sports. So, in a couple of weeks, you better expect some baseball and softball coaches to come on this show and start previewing their season as they get ready for a fantastic spring. Reminder that the official practices for spring sports are in 9 days. So it'll be, I believe, February 22nd is the first day of official mandatory practices for baseball and softball. So if I'm wrong, if I have that date wrong, please let me know in the comments. I think it's the 22nd. It could be the 20th. I'm sure, it makes kind of sense that it'd be a Monday now that I'm thinking about it. The 22nd would be a Wednesday. So I don't know if that date was right, but it's going to be that week. That week is going to be the first week of official practices for baseball and softball. So that's going to be exciting. And once that week hits, then coaches will be coming on this show and previewing their spring sports season while we're also in the midst of probably crowning some district champions, hopefully. Maybe some regional champions. Who knows? We have a couple of girls and boys teams that definitely have a big shot to do it. But before we get to any of that and the recaps of the weekend, we had a couple of tournament games to be played. Before we get to any of that, what we want to do is start the show with a little bit of a serious tone because there are a handful of communities that still need our thoughts and our prayers to be lifted up over the weekend. It was kind of a tough weekend for a lot of our communities. First off and foremost, I want to remind people to continue to lift up the East Palestine community. I know the evacuation order was lifted on Thursday, which made a lot of people take a deep sigh of relief, and it's definitely a good step forward. But a reminder that it is not all sunshine and rainbows in East Palestine just because they lifted the evacuation order. There's still a ton of families that are displaced from their home. There's still people that don't feel safe back to where they live. For proof of that, our office is, locked down right now. It's not a place where DJ and the executive staff of YSN feels it's safe to work at. So that's just an office. There are a lot of homes that are in the same situation. So even though the evacuation order is lifted, and there were a lot of people that were able to go back home in that 1 mile radius of the evacuation order, there are still families being affected, families displaced. We see it on Facebook. There are still families that are just looking for help. Whether they're living with someone that they are able to go into their home for the week or they're, shacked up in a hotel, it's got to be an extremely tough situation to be out of your home for over a week, especially if you have young children, which I know there are people in East Palestine that have a family with young children that have been out of their homes for over a week now. And that's got to be not just tough on your financial, on your pocket, on your wallet. It's got to be tough on the mental health. I mean, to be away from your home and to be so unsure about how safe your home is and what to do, especially, I mean, like I said, when you have young kids, the last thing you ever want to do is put them in a dangerous situation, a dangerous home. Um, it's going to take a lot of convincing for these parents of children to tell them, like, your home is safe now. You can go back to your home. And I'm sure there's a lot of them that feel like they're not going to even do it until they're like 100% certain that it is safe to be back. And with that being said, that could take a while. We just don't know. It's such a fluid situation. We've said that plenty of times on the Power Hour, on Running Point. We've talked about it. It's such a fluid situation. So that is the first point, to make sure that even though the evacuation order is lifted, that you keep East Palestine, the families, the community, up in your prayers. We want to tip the hat to Columbiana and Springfield High School, who were both able to let East Palestine basketball use their gym over the course of the last few days to kind of get gym time. We know that is such a minuscule thing when it comes to what's going on in East Palestine. The basketball team, it's kind of one of the on the priority list of life and safety. It's like it's down a little bit, but it is a way, and we talked about this during COVID. We talked about this a lot. Sports are still a way that people can escape some of the hardships they're going through. So shout out to Columbiana and Springfield. I know they both were able to open up their gym to the basketball teams to let them get back on the floor, get back with their team, and get back to a sense of a little bit of a normalcy. And that's really cool. I mean, when communities, these are rival communities, when they kind of open their doors and say this is a lot bigger than basketball or bigger than sports, this is like, we're gonna be a brother to you. We're gonna open our doors to you. That just kind of shows you what our community is all about. So I love seeing moments like that. There are also plenty of places in Columbiana County that were open to the East Palestine, elementary school, and there were a lot of places like athletics had a kind of a field day event where the kids from East Palestine were able to go and play on the softball turf field and play volleyball, play basketball, and have a lot of fun activities at athletics to get back with their classmates and have good social interactions, because that's tough too, to not be able to see your friends that you're trying to build relationships with as a middle schooler, as an elementary school kid, for over a week. That's a big moment to be able to get back with your classmates. So um, just wanted to touch on that real quick to start the show today. But there are also a couple other communities that just need a little bit of support and prayers, and definitely the next one I want to talk about is Mooney. They lost a legend, Don Butchie, the legendary football coach, past athletic director of Cardinal Mooney, passed away. 89 years old. Don Butchie lived a life, and in those 89 years, he impacted so many people, and my family's a part of it, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure to take the time to say it, because my dad went to Cardinal Mooney. He played football for Coach Butchie. I mean, he is impacted by this loss. I can't watch a football game with my father without, a run up the middle, and he'll be like, man, they must have gotten that play from Coach Butchie, because, they obviously ran the ball so well when he was the Cardinal Mooney head coach, and he loved that belly play up the middle. And my dad would always say, man, they must have gotten that play from Butch, because he loves to run up the middle, no matter what the situation is. 3rd and 9, run up the middle. They'll never see it coming. And so that name has always been in the vocabulary of the Hartwig family, especially during football season. A lot of lessons that my dad learned that passed on to me were from Coach Butchie, and the way that he coached him when he was a player on that Cardinal Mooney football team in the 70s. So he brought Cardinal Mooney their first state championship. He brought him 4 total. But the loss and the legacy of Coach Butchie goes way beyond the hardware that he got, the wins that he got. Those are all great, but my family and the friends that my dad has that went to Cardinal Mooney that I am close with, that were coached by Coach Butchie, are just living proof that he impacted lives, which is what you want to do as a coach. If you go winless in your career, but you were able to impact the lives of high school athletes. I think a lot of high school coaches would be okay with that. Obviously, everyone wants to win. We get so caught up in the competitiveness of sports. So I'm not saying that anyone would be necessarily happy to be winless. You're not going to be happy about it, but um, I think a lot of coaches would agree that at the end of the day, when they reflect on their career and they reflect on what they're able to do with these athletes, and one of the things that makes high school sports and coaching in high school sports and high school age athletes so unique and so special is that um, you are at a fortuitous time in that young man or woman's life to impact their future. They're so in 15, 18 years old, they're so moldable. You know what they see and how they're taught how to lead, not just at home, but by the people that they spend a lot of time with. You know, if you're on a football team, you're spending outside of your parents, you're probably spending more time with that football coach than anybody else in your life during those 4 years of football, right? So you know, think about that. Think about how that coach can really mold who that player is going to end up being, especially God forbid that the home life isn't great. Maybe they're not getting the love, care, or appreciation or whatever it may be at home, but they're getting it from the football coach. That is just immeasurable value. And Coach Bushy was one of those people. And you talk to anyone that was coached by him, he's that personified. He's that idea, that value, that idea personified. And I'm a firm believer that when someone passes on, yes, you mourn, but you also celebrate the life. It's a life celebration. You celebrate the time that they had, the things that they were able to do on this planet, and you definitely celebrate the fact that they have an eternal resting place. So, um, my dad and a bunch of other people that were coached by Butchie and um, impacted by Butchie are definitely mourning a little bit, but they kind of understand what he had to offer while he was on this planet, and he definitely did a lot in his 89 years. If anyone earned the "Well done, my good and faithful servant," it's definitely Coach Butchie. So, want to send my thoughts and prayers to everyone that is affected by that loss and everyone that is kind of mourning that loss right now, especially the Mooney football family and the Mooney athletic community. We had a chance to work with Coach Butchie because he was the athletic director for a couple of years while we were covering Mooney, so we had a chance to work very directly with Coach Butchie. So that's the other thing I wanted to touch on real quick from a YSN standpoint. We had nothing but good things while we were interacting with him, while we were, he helped us out while he was the athletic director, gave us everything that we could have needed. So we can say thank you to all that from a company perspective as well. It goes obviously he wasn't the coach when we came on to Cardinal Mooney, but he was the athletic director for a couple of years, and working with him and coordinating with him. From me, from Quinn, from DJ, from Steve, Leslie, I think we can all agree and that it was nothing but a delight to be able to work with him over the years. So once again, hearts with you for anyone that is affected or mourning the loss of Coach Butchie. And then one more community I want to lift up. I just heard about this news this morning, and it's heartbreaking that a Louisville student and a cheerleader on a very highly respected and high class cheerleading team in Louisville, one of their sophomore cheerleaders is fighting for their life, quite literally, in the hospital right now. Bella Browse, a sophomore on the cheerleading team at Louisville, is just in a really tough spot right now with an illness in the hospital. So, like no hyperbole, fighting for the life. We want to lift her up in the prayers and in the Louisville student body. A lot of friends in Louisville, obviously. When one of your own is down with something, the student body is really affected by it. We want to send our heartfelt thoughts and prayers to the Louisville community because we have been so grateful that we're able to be a part of that, and we've been introduced to that Louisville student body so much in the short time that we've been able to cover them the last couple of years at YSN. A lot of athletes that we've been able to talk to, they're all great. They're all great kids. And this cheer team, just to highlight them a little bit, they're not just your run of the mill go out on a Friday night and cheer and call it a day. I mean, they are qualified for state, and they won their last competition in not just the high school game day category, but the high school traditional category and the middle school category. So they are a highly regarded cheerleading team. And one of the things about competitive cheer that you have is you are such a unit. You talk about this with a lot of locker rooms. You have to have trust in your teammate when you're doing competitive cheerleading, because you're doing a lot of quite dangerous acrobatics when you're cheerleading. And if you have to trust your teammates to be able to do their job to keep you safe. So there is a lot of bond, trust, and unity inside a cheerleading squad, especially when it's a competitive cheerleading squad that is going out there competing for state championships. There's a lot of trust. So to see one of your own that you have poured your trust, your heart, and your mind kind of energy into, to see one of them be in this kind of situation, can't even imagine what that would be like. And so it's probably like, watching literally a sister go through that. So to the Louisville cheer community, to the Louisville student body, to Louisville community, we want to say that we know what you're going through. We're here for you. Thoughts and prayers, everything that YSN can do. Hit us up. We'll do whatever we can for you guys. We love Louisville. We love the Leopards. And that's one of the other things that I wanted to make sure was said before we get on to the normalcy of this show, which we will do. We still have sports to talk about, but I wanted to make sure on this Monday that we kind of hit on those things before we get to that. So with that all being said, there are games to recap over the weekend. There were plenty of basketball games, a couple of tournament games in the girls' side that were done, and we're going to recap those. We also have a interview to play today. We're going to finish off the Salem girls basketball seniors just literally half an hour before the show. Did an interview with Zoe Reed, one of the last senior leader that we're able to interview, one of three. That was a great interview. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. We're going to play it a little bit later after our recaps. But that being said, let's go over the scores of the weekend real quick. And we rewind our minds all the way back to Friday night. And if we go back to Friday night, some of the first scores that came in on Friday were, wrong day, excuse me, were Canfield beating Howland 49-30, big win for the Cardinals inside the AAC. We saw West Branch beat Girard in a very highly anticipated non-conference matchup. Girard starting to stumble a little bit down the stretch of this season. They lost to Jefferson. Now they lost to West Branch. This one obviously non-conference, but despite all that, and this is what I want to shout out to Jefferson basketball. Despite all that, they still have every goal that they had right in front of them. They can still go win the NE8 or at least share it. If they take care of business, they can still go and have a big tournament run. I believe in this Girard team. This adversity that they're facing, if they handle it right, which I think they will because they are a well-coached team. Coach Heenan does a really good job with that group of players. They were kind of in this spot last year where they tailed off at the end, and I think the youth of last year showed up. They're 1 year older. They're dealing with a little bit of the adversity that the end of the season can bring. Everyone's a little tired. Everyone's a little banged up. But I believe in Gus Johnson. I believe in Thomas Cordero. I believe in Michael Palmer. All those guys on that team are a fantastic group of leaders. And I believe that they will pick up this Girard Indians team and they will still make a pretty deep tournament run, because when they are going, they are really hard to stop on defense. I think Girard, despite these last couple games and this last couple weeks of scores that we see from them that aren't exactly characteristic, I would tell Girard fans and the Girard community, don't hit that panic button yet. You have a really, really great, highly respected basketball coach, and you have a lot of talent on that floor and a lot of good leaders. I mean, we were able to talk to Michael Palmer during the football season. Obviously, he's a high-class running back for that Girard team that led them to have such an incredible run this year. But talking to him during the football season, one of the things you really realize is this kid just knows how to make people around him better. I think you saw that from this Girard football team. They had a couple of new kids step up in new situations that I think you can attribute their success to Michael Palmer's leadership ability in that locker room, and I think he carried that right off to this basketball team. He's not always in the stat book as the leading scorer. Sometimes he is. He can definitely score. He definitely has some basketball talent. But I think his leadership is kind of the glue of that team that kind of keeps it all together. So can't give him enough props. And definitely, we've already talked to Thomas Cardero as well, and we talked to Gus Johnson last year. So we've talked to all three of these big names for Girard basketball, and I can firmly say with a heartfelt belief that they are all three of them extremely good leaders on this team, and they will do good things. I would put stake in their tournament run. I do believe in that. They have a tough Division II bracket, that's for sure. I'm not underselling that. I don't think it'll be an easy road, but I think Girard will take this last week and just kind of hit the reset button a little bit and get themselves back on track. They know what happened to them last year. They're not going to let that happen again. These players are too good. These leaders are too good inside that locker room for that to happen. So one of the other things I want to point out that in this game that kind of shows everything I've been saying about Girard is true. Girard let Drew DeShields go and score the first points of the game. Drew DeShields obviously had the knee injury at the end of the football season, wasn't able to play basketball this year. That had to be an absolute gut punch to Drew because he is such a big competitor and he is a very good basketball player. So when he was unable to play, obviously that's got to be a huge gut punch. Friday was senior night, and they introduced him. They put him on the floor, and then obviously there was an arrangement beforehand where Girard said, like, we're going to let Drew DeShields score the first bucket of the game, and they were able to do that. He was able to go to the block, score a bucket, and have that moment. And what a great moment for Drew DeShields of West Branch, for all that he's kind of put into not just that program, but every program he stepped in on. I mean, Drew DeShields has been the face of West Branch for what feels like the last 2 years. Quite literally every sport when you talk about West Branch, you're mentioning Drew DeShields in some sorry about that, some form or way. Welcome to Monday, right? So great moment for him, but also that moment doesn't happen without the class of Girard and the recognizing of that moment and how important that moment was to another competitor and another community. I mean, a lot of teams would say, we're not giving you 2 points. No, I mean, this is a 10-point game. It was a good basketball game. We're not giving you 10 points. And Girard was able to do that. And the night before, South Range girls did that for Western Reserve. One of the Western Reserve seniors, Maddie Leone, got hurt in the practice right before senior night. So practice on Wednesday, gets hurt, can't play on senior night, has a cast all the way up her leg. Heard it was a dislocated ankle. You know, what I saw and I thought, oh my gosh, she like snapped her leg. She had a huge leg cast, but obviously that was a precautionary cast. So thankfully it's not that, but it's still a very serious, season-ending injury. And South Range was told about it before the game, and they will also let Western Reserve score the first bucket. They let her score it. They brought her, a basket of things. And I think, when we see moments like that where programs realize that it goes beyond the game, those are tip of the hat moments. We saw it this weekend. We already talked about what Columbiana and Springfield were able to do for East Palestine basketball. That's one moment. But these moments, too, are just as cool. And when you're giving up points, like you're saying, we're going to let you score. Both those games were close. I mean, Girard lost by 10. South Range lost by 5 in that game, 48-43. So they weren't the defining points of the game. It was not like either team lost by 2, but it goes way past that. And both these programs realized it, and both those moments were able to happen because the competitors of those teams realized that things go way past basketball. And I got to give a tip of the hat to both Girard boys basketball and South Range girls for letting those moments happen. More scores. We have Western Reserve boys were able to beat Sebring 62-41. I was actually at this game, and Western Reserve played like an angry team all night. I think the Sebring loss earlier in the season was one that really stuck in their head. They lost to Sebring in the middle of the MVAC slate earlier on this season, by 10, 49-39. And I think they just felt like out of all their losses this year, which they are 10-11, that was one of the ones where they felt like they left on the table. I think talking to a couple of players afterwards, talking to Coach Sarinsky, I think that was a game where they felt like they really just didn't show up and play their best game of basketball. And I feel like coming into Friday night, they wanted to prove that to not outside people. This Western Reserve team, I don't think cares about outside perspective, but they wanted to prove that to themselves that they're capable of playing better basketball than they did the first time they played Sebring, and they took control of this game from the jump. Hayden Fellows had a great game on both sides of the ball. A lot of his points came from breaking into a passing lane, getting a steal, and getting an easy bucket on the other end. He led the team. Hayden Fellows was a great player for them. But then they also celebrated their seniors, which gave them even more energy. They had 4 seniors on that squad, and it was also homecoming night, so they were able to name a homecoming queen. One of the most creative ways I've seen it done. Western Reserve does not vote on their homecoming queen. They have 4 big random cardboard boxes that they put on the floor. And I think this is completely randomized on what balloons go into what box. But you announce all the 4 girls that are on court, and then you have them open the box, and whatever box has golden star balloons is your winner. So that was a cool moment for Western Reserve. And at halftime, it was a busy night. There were a lot of people there for not just for that, but for senior night. Western Reserve was able to go out and get the win in front of a packed house, 62-41, the final score there. Springfield beat McDonald on Friday, 64-50. We saw Warren Harding knock off Boardman, 50-42. We saw Badger get a win over Wyndham, 68-57. Good win for the Braves. Another close one between Cheney and Poland. It feels like every time these two teams meet, there's just a little bit extra juice between these two rosters and these two coaching staffs. Obviously, we've seen them meet in districts 2 years in a row, and they both of those district games have been really highly contested. And I think there's just this extra competitive juice when Poland meets Cheney, because this one was close too. And 50-45 was your final score. Cheney was able to get the win over Poland. They haven't lost any of those close games, by the way, Cheney against Poland. We go into the next score. Hoban was able to beat Cornerstone Christian 79-58. A very good Cornerstone Christian team, by the way, with a lot of good players. But Hoban took care of business. We saw Salem get the win over Hobart, 69-56 on Friday night. Mineral Ridge got the win over Jackson Milton, 65-59. That is earning them a split in the season series with Jackson Milton. We saw LeBray get a close and offensive win over Crestview, 82-78. The final score there for LeBray. That helped them keep pace in that MVAC grade tier among the top teams. Edgewood was able to beat Geneva, 78-55. We saw Ursuline beat Mooney, 66-49. They'll play each other again tonight. So they have Holy War Round 1 on Friday, Holy War Round 2 on Monday night. That'll be fun. Coach Palermo was on with Matt Morrison on Talk More with Matt Morrison before our show. So if you want to hear what he had to say about Friday's matchup and tonight's matchup, head over to our YouTube page where it's archived, or our Facebook, and check out that show. Matt did a great job with Coach Palermo, who is always giving us his time. We appreciate Coach Palermo a lot, but that was a great interview. So if you're interested in that, head over to any of our social media pages and check out the archive of that show. St. Thomas Aquinas was able to beat Warren JFK 70-52, a tough one for the Eagles, but they will bounce back. Brookfield was able to beat Garrettsville Garfield 61-42. Brookfield needed this win to keep pace in that logjam of the MVAC. But the biggest game in that conference came in Campbell. It was a battle between two of those teams that were in first place, Campbell and Newton Falls. A great game, back and forth all night, but Campbell was able to win this one 44-41, which means Campbell can officially say they are back-to-back champions. They won it outright last year, and a lot of people counted them out this year. Said, no way. You lost so many seniors. You lost all those special players. There's no way you come back and you win the MVAC this year. But here they are. chip on their shoulder a little bit. Tough start to the season. They dug deep, said, no, we are champions, and we are going to prove that it wasn't just the talent that we had on the floor last year. Yes, they had amazing players last year come in for their senior year, try to put together something special. Absolutely. And yes, losing those players was a big hole to fill. I don't think anyone in Camel would be lying if they said it wasn't. But they still have that championship mentality. They still have that leadership that was left. Legacies are left after you leave the school. Sorry for that dramatic pause. But those seniors were worth more than what they did that year because they left their footprints and their handprints on that program after they graduated. I talk about it a lot. I value a senior leader not just on what they do that year, but what the program looks like after they leave. You are judged by how you leave a program. And the seniors of Camel, they were amazing to watch last year. They were high flying. They were talented out the wazoo. Whatever a wazoo is, they had talent out of it, right? They were flying out of the gym. Amazing to watch. One of the most fun teams we were able to watch last year on YSN. But past all that, the impact they had on the locker room, the impact they had on the younger players that were going to step into that role next year is shown through this year. Camel able to go through some adversity, tough start to the season, and they still get 11 wins in the MVAC, and they finish in first place. And I think that's a little bit of a nod to Coach Canarino, too, because there were a lot of people outside that program in the outside world that I heard, well, he's only winning because he's got that talent. Right? And we're going to undervalue that coach because anyone can coach that group of players. And we talked to Coach Canarino a lot. I don't believe that's true. And I think that this season kind of was, the coming out party to say that's not true. He's a good coach. He's a dang good basketball coach. And he proved it. That's all I'm going to say about Coach Canarino. He let the basketball speak for himself in Camel. And we can congratulate the Red Devils on back-to-back MVAC champions. We have a long comment by Ty Bartel. What are you trying to do? Kill me? I'm just going to let, because this is, Ty Bartel was really close to that Camel program. He poured a lot of energy into them last year. And Camel's story, like he said, Coach Canarino, heck of a program, heck of a coach. And congratulations on getting that win over Newton Falls. Final score was 44-41, Camel over the Tigers. We continue the scores from Friday. We saw Struthers get the win over Columbiana, 65-44. We saw Lowville end their MVAC season undefeated. They are champions as well. 69-41, they were able to beat Waterloo, and that would seal their MVAC championship. We go into Saturday, where we saw a couple of girls teams in their regular season, a couple of girls teams enter tournament play. But one of the biggest end of regular season games was Brookfield against South Range. They're in the same division. This was a good tournament test for both teams. And after South Range took an early lead, it was 25-19, about halfway through the second quarter. And this South Range offense was off to one of their best offensive starts of a game that they've had all season. I mean, I was impressed. I was so impressed because they're a team that has been struggling to score all year. And I was sitting there saying, we're not even at halftime, and South Range has 25 points. This is a big moment for their team going forward. And it still is. But Brookfield responded to that. And after they were down 25-19, they went on I'm trying to remember, I think it was a 15-0 run before it was stopped. And they took control of that game the whole second half. 57-43 was your final score. But I still think South Range has a lot to take out of that start to the game. If we can bottle, from Coach Fitch's perspective, if we can bottle that up and start every game like that and keep it contained and not lose that momentum, counter adjust, because Brookfield made some adjustments. They came out in what I saw as, I don't broadcast games with the coach's mind, so I have I'm focused on what's going on. My eyesight's bad enough that I just have to focus on what's going on. I can't really read on to the X's and O's of basketball while I'm play by play. But from what I saw, they switched their defenses. They went from what looked like a man defense to a zone after the South Rangers' big start. And Cunningham was just drilling their man defense. There was no one that could stop her from driving through the lane, especially in that high post area when she got the ball there. Brookfield changed it. They went to more of a zone. They swarmed her when she got the ball in the high post, and not enough Raiders were able to attack the zone. So when you attack the zone, obviously it collapses and you kick out. So I think that was a big difference when Brookfield adjusted their zone defense when they made that adjustment. Obviously, they held South Range to less than 18 points to be exact from that point on. So a good defensive adjustment from Brookfield. Sophia Hook and Kaylee Wellman combined for 34 points, 17 apiece for both of them. And Kaylee Wellman just another double-double. Not enough people talk about her. Rightfully so. Sophia Hook gets a lot of attention. She's a great basketball player. But man, I've never seen a player that averages a double-double get more under the radar than Kaylee Wellman. She's a great, great basketball player. She's an athletic post. She's got the body type to get rebounds, but she's not someone that's uncoordinated. She can get in and out of the post. She can get a rebound and then take the ball down herself, which is something that I really love from a taller player. She doesn't catch it and then immediately panic and look for a guard to get the outlet pass to. She's good enough to catch it and then take the ball herself down the floor. We've seen her do that multiple times. That is such a valuable asset in high school basketball, to have somebody that can almost be a replacement point guard as soon as they get the rebound. Someone that is confident enough with the ball to go up, get it, and then know what to do with it as soon as they get it. And Kaylee Wellman, I think that is one of the biggest underrated aspects of her game. Yes, you can see her stats. That tells one story, but that little tidbit of her game doesn't go into stats. She already got the rebound. If she is panicking and throwing to a guard and slowing down the offense, that's not going to show up in the stat sheet. They don't keep track of how many times you slow down the offense by, or slowing down the transition by having to find someone to pass it to. But that's one of the things that coaches notice, like Kaylee Wellman can get the rebound and then we can go because she can handle the ball. And we can beat teams down the floor, which is exactly what Brookfield was able to do every time Wellman got a rebound. She had 12 of them for another double-double. A great mention there by Timothy Porter. Orange boys were able to win on Friday as well. Final score 54-43 over West Geauga. Thank you for that update, Coach Tim. Obviously, we were a couple of men down this weekend, so we were unable to get that score update, but we definitely love Orange. The boys have been playing so well of late, and they get the win over West Geauga 54-43. And then they will play Poland in the tournament. Girls down Lakeside 67-30 on Friday night as well. Taya is asking what my sneaky seeded playoff team is. So sleeper, I guess, in the tournament. West Branch is a really good pick at 11. I like it because they're healthy. The healthy West Branch team is always scary. A lot of good teams in Division III are unfortunately in that Laurel district, which is going to be really hard to come out of. I think Boardman looked really impressive. They're a 16 seed. They're going to go on the road in their next tournament game on Thursday at Shaker Heights, the 11 seed. I think they can get that win. I mean, 16 seed going into the district semifinals would be a big boost. So I'm going to say Boardman. I'm going to go with Boardman. Boardman looked really good in their first tournament game. Between the first two matchups with Fitch, it looked like Fitch had made those adjustments and Fitch was going to come in. I think if there were point spreads, which there are not, we do not condone betting on high school sports. But I think if you looked at it from a coach's perspective and you watched film on how Fitch was playing down the stretch and how Boardman was playing down the stretch, I think you probably would have gone into that game as a basketball fan, as a basketball expert, whatever you want to call yourself, saying that Fitch was the favorite in that game a little bit. Not to be. Boardman took control of that game. Riccatelli scored 21 points. We'll go over that score in a little bit. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but obviously, I think Boardman is one of those teams that really has all the right pieces to make a little bit of a tournament run. And if they win at Shaker Heights on Thursday against the 11 seed, they will put themselves into the district not championship semifinal against against the winner of the other teams in the bracket. So 16 seed getting into the semifinal would be pretty cool. Ty Bartel saying that Riccatelli is like the Energizer Bunny. I like that. I like that because one of the selling points that Energizer Bunny on the commercials is banging the drum, right? And what I like about Riccatelli, obviously, Ty's going for the energy, obviously, the never say stop mentality. But I think he keeps the rhythm of that game. Like the tempo is dictated by how Riccatelli is going. Um, and players that do that for your team, tempo of a basketball game is very important. What tempo you're playing and how you're playing at that tempo can be a very important aspect of the game. And Riccatelli does a really good job of knowing what her team needs as far as what tempo they need to play and keeping them in that tempo no matter what it takes. So she's always Ty's going for the energy. I'm going with the drum. Like the Energizer Bunny's always banging that drum, right? And the drum is rhythm. Drum is rhythm. Drum keeps rhythm to your band. So I'm going to go with the rhythm and always going with the tempo of what Riccatelli dictates for that Boardman basketball team. That's why I think they can still make a run. They can go into Shaker Heights, get the upset, get into a district semifinal as a 16 seed in the D1 tournament. But back to Brookfield, they once again reminder they got the win 57-43 over South Range. Salem, I don't know what else to say about Salem. Like I could sit here and talk about how good Salem is until I'm blue in the face. Obviously, to end this day, in a minute, we're going to play an interview with Zoe Reed. Actually, we got to get to that pretty soon because time's winding down. This talk got a little bit ahead of me. But 72-20, Salem gets the win over NDCL, and they end the season with another program record for the best defense statistically. They broke it last year, and they just one up themselves. 30.2 points per game given up this season, which breaks last year's record by quite a bit. I mean, like quite a bit in the standards of 3 points for an average is quite a bit. So impressive by Salem. And speaking of Salem, we do have one of the reasons why they're so impressive on tap. Senior leader Zoe Reed, the last of the three seniors that we have to interview on YSN, talked with me about a half an hour ago. Let's hear from her and what she had to say on Running Point. Anthony Hartwig here with another Salem girls basketball player profile. I am joined by the final of our trio of seniors, Zoe Reed. Zoe, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so my first question for you, and you're a senior, and you've had to, we've asked all your senior teammates what it's been like to step into this leadership role that the seniors of last year's team kind of had to leave. But you were a big leader in the volleyball team. I mean, you were an YSN All-Star, and you really led that team really well. How did that kind of prepare you for what you knew you were going to be stepping into during the basketball season?
I think volleyball honestly did prepare me a lot. I had a lot of younger girls in volleyball that were moved up to the varsity level. So I just needed to be the person that was also encouraging and motivating. So I think transitioning into basketball, it was easier because I knew that we only have 3 seniors compared to last year we had 5. So honestly, I think it helped a lot.
That volleyball team had to go through a lot of adversity, ups and downs through the season, brand new coach, et cetera, et cetera. Going through all that and being able to stay a positive force and being able to stay confident in all through all that, what was that like, and how did that prepare you for your basketball season?
I think with the past volleyball season compared to prior seasons, it showed who our real characters were. And I think keeping a positive mindset, keeping a glass half full mindset really helped because going into basketball, it's clearly a different type of storyline with our success. But I think volleyball really prepared me for that because it showed me to be a good leader even when things aren't going the way we all want them to.
I mean, even with the success, there are losses. Like you're
Right.
not going to go undefeated in the season. You've had to deal with adversity in this basketball season. So when those moments hit, how much did you kind of look back and reflect on that volleyball season for inspiration?
I think I looked back honestly a lot. I'm in JO right now, and that's a different story as well because we all have girls that are, very talented. And I think going back to my school season, like they're gonna have so much potential next year. They all are so talented and very great girls. But I think like going honestly, I think learning more through a loss is a lot better than having a really successful winning season. So taking in like our few losses this season for basketball really just helped reflect on like how we are as a team, like our chemistry, how we work.
Getting into this basketball ride, I mean, the obvious question is, what's it been like this season to be on this incredible ride to keep the momentum of last year going? You know, a lot of people in the preseason thought maybe Salem would be down this year because they lost 5 seniors. Not so fast, my friend, because you guys have done everything that last year's team has been able to do and a little bit better defense statistically. What's the ride been like from your perspective?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, the group of girls we're with is just phenomenal. We've all been playing together since we were little tykes, so it's just such a great bond. They're like my family. I love them all each to death. So
You know, be a little bit honest. Is the locker room, now that you've had this successful season and you're going into the tournament as a 2 seed, are there a little bit of smirks going on about the okay, people doubted us coming into this year and they didn't think we'd win the EBC and we're co-EBC champs? Or is there a little bit of a smirk or we showed you, we proved ourselves kind of mentality going into the tournament?
honestly, no. I think our girls are very, I want to say humble
Mhm.
because we all take it as a game at a time. We all are focused on who we're facing this week. And I mean, winning EBC is great, but I also know that we all are very focused on what we're doing.
We have to go into this last, well, not the last one you had, but the last week you had, the big win you had against Maslin Jackson, of course. That was a highly billed game. Maslin Jackson comes in healthy. They had all three of their superstars kind of on the floor. They kind of came in thinking it was going to be their swan song, but my word, did you guys put up a good defensive performance? What was the mindset of that game to kind of go into a game where, there was nothing on the line, there were no conference, standings on the line, and there weren't even division, stakes on the line because they're in Division One. So what was the mindset going into that game and being able to show off like you guys did?
I think all of our mindsets were focused on our own roles. I mean, we have Lauren up there, Barty Party, we love her. And then obviously Abby and Cami, they're all putting in their work. Riley is doing great. I love her. And then Kaylee is just crazy on the boards. I mean, we all just really focused in on what we needed to do to be successful. And it's more about proving yourself at that point. There's nothing really on the line. So it's just really who we are as a team and who wants it.
And talk about knowing your roles and executing them. What do you think your role on this team is, and how well do you think you've executed it throughout the season?
I definitely think my role isn't as much of like an offensive threat, but I do think like getting in their boards, like just really like doing the scrappy work. I think I do that well. And then definitely keeping a positive attitude, cheering on my teammates. I love doing that. I love being the hype girl.
You are definitely one of the staples of that team as far as energy on the bench and off the bench when you're on the court. How do you constantly keep that energy? I mean, do you ever get tired?
No, I love it. I think that does come from volleyball a lot. It's a very high energy sport. So I think transitioning into basketball, it's just the same thing. I love cheering on the girls. I love watching my teammates succeed. It brings me a lot of joy. So I like to express it.
Volleyball is known for kind of their, not their chants, but kind of the in between point celebrations and stuff like that. Did you bring any of that flair to the Salem basketball team and think like, hey, let's try to teach them how to do some of the stuff that our volleyball girls are able to do?
Um, kind of. At practice, we have different types of drills, so I try to put little chants in there whenever I can. But I mean, other than that, just kind of doing my thing, cheering on the girls, being loud.
One of the things that we see from the Salem basketball team as well is their ability to outreach into the community and to the youth of the organization and to the little girls that look up to you and the community members that just like watching you guys play. What has it meant to you to give back to the community that supports you guys so much?
I absolutely love it. Spending time with little youth girls and going to the classrooms to read is just something that highlights my day. I mean, they bring me so much joy, they don't even understand it. So I just think that that's a special part of something that we all do for Salem basketball. So it's just something I know all of us girls love, but I love it.
When you kind of deal with the reality that there are little girls that look up to you and you are a role model, does that kind of sink in at all, or do you think of it while you're out there playing, or does it kind of wash away while you're in the heat of a game?
No, I think about it a lot. We brought the girls out for senior night to go through our little handshakes and announcing all of us at the beginning of the game. And I just think it's super special to see them all standing up and like wearing jerseys and calling us by our nicknames. It's just something that's just constantly reminding us that we're playing for more than just the girls that are sitting on the bench.
Now, we've given you guys a couple of nicknames throughout the YSN, coverage of your team. Do you have a nickname in the locker room that they have given you?
Oh, a new one is Bambi, just because I'm fast and I can get down the court real quick. They say I run like a deer. I just never get tired. A few of the girls call me Z, but other than that, no.
Is Bambi get a green light? Do you like Bambi as a nickname?
Yeah, I do.
What have you ever seen the movie?
Yes, I have.
How much did you cry during it?
Oh, gosh, I can't even tell you. That one hit me hard.
Disney knows how to pull at those heartstrings for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the personality of this locker room and what the kind of inside the locker room is like, and what kind of personalities that your teammates and yourself bring into that room.
Oh gosh, each girl, I mean, they all bring something absolutely special to this team. Abby has been a wonderful leader on and off the court, as with Cammie. She's great. I've been with her since St. Paul's, so she and I get along really well. And then we have Riley, Lauren, Kaylee all stepping up, showing all the young girls, the freshmen, the sophomore, how to just do it. And it's just great. Like all of us are friends and we're great and we all respect each other, which is a big thing.
Let's ask some fun questions about your teammates and see who you think would be in, the best in these kind of situations. First, let's just pretend for a minute that we're in like an apocalypse type of situation. You need someone to go to that's going to be like the best at surviving, the best to keep you guys alive. What teammate do you think is going to take the point in an apocalypse situation?
Oh gosh, I think I would take Paige Mino.
In the same sense, if you guys were kind of stuck on a deserted island and you had to use your resources to survive, like the outdoor resources, who do you think would be the best at that?
Oh, I would take the twins, Riley and Reese. I would take them. They always find a way out of sticky situations, so I would take them absolutely.
If you had to fly off that island, who would you trust the most to be in that pilot seat to handle that high stress situation?
Oh, probably Abby. Absolutely. She keeps her cool all the time, so absolutely Abby.
Okay, now you need someone to lighten that mood, right? You're on a deserted island, everyone's freaking out. Who's going to be the person that lightens everybody up?
Probably Lauren and Carl together. It'd have to be together.
Who is the teammate most likely to eat more food than they're supposed to? You're trying to ration everything. Hey, that's my food over there.
Honestly, it'd probably be Riley Hutton and I. We probably would both just get it carried away.
So you're on this island. Who do you think is the one that is going to be the quote unquote leader of the group, the one that keeps everyone on the right path?
Oh, probably Cammie, Swatzilla. She'd keep us on the right path. We'd probably get carried away, and she'd be like, "Hey, got to go over there."
Right now, I got to bring your coaches into this. They're on the deserted island with you. What coach on the staff is going to be like freaking out the most, do you think?
Oh, maybe Coach Drager. She probably would get like in with us girls, and we'd probably scare her. So then we'd probably freak her out.
What about the one that's going to be like the most calm, cool, and collected in the coaching staff?
Probably Coach Spack.
All right, now let's get back to this coaching staff though and talk about them a little bit more seriously, taking them off that deserted island. And what have they meant to you being under them? And being able to learn from the great coaches that you do have?
They I can't call them anything but a family to me. They have been so supportive on the court, off the court. They each have like shown me like what it means to be a leader, and I could go to them for honestly anything. I cherish the friendships and like the bonds that I have with each of them. So I couldn't ask for a better coaching staff. Honestly, I really couldn't.
Now that you're a senior and it's tournament time, which means every game technically could be the last one that you guys play, does that give you a little bit more of a sense of urgency in the practices and in these warm-ups and everything in the games where it's literally like my career is on the line for this game?
Absolutely. I think that we're all more of like a, okay, like it's go time now. Like there's no time to settle. We just got to keep going, keep pulling, like pedal down. There's no time to stop.
Now that there's no more regular season goals to focus on, how much has the hunger of how last year ended really fueled this team in the last week or so of practice to get ready for this tournament?
I think that all of us girls kind of have the same idea that we want to go further than we made it last year, but we're all taking it a game at a time. You know, inches matter. Each game, each practice, they all matter. We can't lose sight of what's in front of us right now.
You guys have more uniforms than most teams. You have, a lot of uniform combos that you're able to put out there. What's your favorite? What's the favorite one to put on?
Oh, probably the all white. I love the home jersey. That's probably one of my favorites, honestly.
She's a fan of the icy whites.
I am.
I like it. No, let's talk about your future. Obviously, you're going to be a senior, which means you're going to be graduating and you're going to be going on to the next phase of your life. What are your future plans? What kind of things do you want to see yourself doing in the next 3 or 4 years?
I am gonna go to college. I know I'm probably gonna play sports. That's pretty much a given. And I think I'm gonna study like something in the medical field. I haven't settled down on a complete answer yet, but I know it's gonna be somewhere in there.
I notice you pluralized sport. So you're going to play sports.
So yeah, probably. It's probably gonna be more than one, honestly.
Okay, does that mean that you're gonna have really a hard time choosing between volleyball and basketball? Which one that you're gonna inevitably have to tie up?
I don't know yet, honestly. I think right now I'm keeping my options open, but I I want to definitely keep playing. I think that that's definitely going to be a big part of my life.
Options are open. So what we'll ask you is when you're looking at those options and you're trying to decide whether or not, you're gonna do it or whether or not you're gonna go to this school or that school, what kind of things are you looking for to tell you like this is where I want to be the next 4 years?
Definitely the schooling and what they have to offer me and what they have to offer my intended major. And honestly, like their team, their coaching staff, I want to feel like I could go to that school and feel comfortable rather than having to try and like figure everything out while I'm there.
All right, before we let you go, I want to give you the chance to thank the people that always are supporting you and your support staff and the people that always have your back everywhere you go.
Okay. I want to thank obviously my family, my support system, everyone that's helped me get here. I want to thank my coaches. They're all wonderful people inside and out. And my teammates, they're all great. I love them all to death. And honestly, I want to thank you guys. You guys have done so much for us. And I'm very appreciative to have you guys.
Well, we love covering you. You're a rock star inside and out.
You know?
We love following your journey. Thank you so much for coming on today and giving us a little bit of insight into your career and your personality. We thank you for your time. We wish you the best of luck in the upcoming tournament, and we hope that it goes as far as it can. And then we'll talk to you again real soon.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Zoe Reed, one of the seniors and the last senior of Salem girls basketball that we have the chance to talk to. We've talked to all three now, and they've all been extremely gracious with their time. We thank them for their time. We thank everyone for tuning in today to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We're going to sign off. We'll be back tomorrow from 1 to 2. Power Hour has you hooked up from 3 to 4 today. And we have a couple of games. It's a slow night on the network, but we still have some that you can head over to ysnlive.com/live and check out. So enjoy the rest of your night, and we will see you tomorrow on Run.